But now down to real business with my stellar panel of white dudes for and against Harris. Host of the Rubin Report, Dave Rubin. Host of the David Pakman Show, David Pakman. Host of No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, Brian Tyler Cohen. And host of the Ben Ferguson podcast, Ben Ferguson. What a magnificent quartet of white dudes, if ever I've seen one. David Pakman, I want to start with you. You were very clear to me when we spoke before the election that this whole issue of transgenders in sport and so on was completely irrelevant and nobody cared. Let me remind you.
Something wild just went down on the Piers Morgan show, and David Pakman didn't just hold his own, he left the entire panel scrambling. This conversation hits on some of the most divisive culture war topics, from transgender athletes to media grifting, and Pakman brought the receipts. We're diving into the heated exchanges, the wild claims, and why this moment exposes so much about political theater today. Let's get into this.
You're saying Kamala Harris and Biden have come out in support of this.
They do. They support policies which actively protect. They support policies that protect transgender athletes performing in women's sport. And I think that is madness. You're saying, well, because most of these things in this UN report were outside of America, it doesn't matter. It does matter.
What I'm saying, it's a completely contrived issue that almost no one cares about in every single opinion poll.
Wow. Well, the problem is, David, you couldn't have possibly been any more wrong, because the New York Times, the liberal Bible, did a whole piece about the ad that Trump ran, which is the Kamala's for they, them, Donald Trump's for you. They said it was one of the most effective 30-second spots in political history and may have shifted the race, according to her own side, by 2.7 percentage points in Trump's favour after people watched it. Let's take a look at the ad before I come to you.
For prisoners.
For prisoners, every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
Hell no, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to that.
Kamala supports transgender sex changes in jail with our money.
Kamala even supports letting biological men compete against our girls in their sports. Kamala is for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
So, look, on reflection, David, do you want to admit you were completely and hopelessly wrong about this?
No, in fact, in the aftermath, we figured out how dishonest you were, Piers, during that. And hopefully we can get a little bit of an opportunity. So let me lay it out.
Of course.
First of all, I went back and looked at the UN report in more detail. The UN report said nothing of the sort that you said. What you were referring to dishonestly was one footnote from an anti-trans organization making completely unsubstantiated claims. So I will wait for the apology from you. The UN report doesn't say that, but that wasn't the crux of your question. Second part of it, that ad with Kamala, I would have loved Kamala to respond to it. All she had to say was, at the time that she said that, it was Trump administration Bureau of Prisons policy that that's what's available to trans inmates when determined medically necessary. She would follow the law. You haven't said that. And then number three, Piers, on who cares about the issue, I checked Gallup survey, trans issues at the very bottom. The reality is almost no one's trans. Almost no trans people are in competitive sports, and people do not care about the issue. However, there's a lot of money made grifting about trans this and trans that.
Right here, Pakman nails something most people overlook: the economy of outrage. Think about it. Culture war topics like trans athletes aren't about solving issues. They're about keeping us distracted and divided. The data backs this up. Gallup polls consistently rank trans issues at the bottom of voter concerns. But here's the kicker. The louder these media personalities scream about it, the more clicks, donations, and ad dollars they rake in. And let's be real, most people see through this, which is why these narratives are losing steam. Hell no to letting grifters define what matters.
Even from people on this panel, so I get why they keep bringing it up.
I actually want to bring in an extra guest, the former Democratic congressional candidate, Brianna Wu, who is also a trans woman. Brianna, welcome to Uncensored. Yeah. I can't think of anyone better qualified, given you're the only trans member of the panel now.
What's happening with the left is that these saviors, these progressive warriors that you see in these boxes here, think that they know more about these people than they know about themselves.
Absolutely ridiculous.
And by the way, By the way, this has nothing to do with a well-funded evil money machine that the Republicans were doing. There's something called boys and girls. And
Rubin's the right guy to
different.
talk about
and
that,
most
isn't
parents, oh God, you're such a smug prick. Listen, most parents actually want to defend their daughters.
Hold on, let's break this down. This protect the daughters narrative gets thrown around a lot, but it's a classic bait and switch. The actual data shows that trans athletes make up a minuscule percentage of competitors. So why does this dominate headlines? Because it's an easy way to push fear without offering solutions. And can we talk about the hypocrisy here? The same people claiming to protect women's sports often ignore issues like pay equity or abuse in athletics. If they cared about fairness, they'd be tackling those first. Come on.
And don't want them to have the crap kicked out of them by boys, and they don't want them to be playing boys in soccer or any of these other things. That is a defense of girls. If someone, as an adult, 18, 21, we can discuss the age, wants to dress how they want, have any surgeries, take whatever drugs, do whatever they want with their body, most people, even Republicans, don't object to that. And I have no problem referring to Brianna as she, because I can clearly sense she would treat me with respect and I'll treat her with respect. And it's a two-way street rather than pandering and bowing to a bunch of people that could not give a crap about anybody else.
Yeah, and David, let me bring in David Pakman again, because you were very quick when I asked how you felt about being so wrong about this, to accuse me of being misleading, disinformation, misconstruing a United Nations report. So because we're a very nimble team here, while you were talking, they just went and double-checked, because I was curious what you were talking about. And we found, we found the United Nations report. And it's not a footnote, as you said, it's page 5 of the report. It says, and I quote, the United Nations says nearly 900 biological females have fallen short of the podium because they were beaten out by trans athletes. The findings were compiled by the UN's Rapporteur on Violence Against Women, entitled Violence Against Women and Girls in Sport. The report said more than 600 athletes didn't medal in more than 400 competitions in 29 different sports, totaling over 890 medals. The replacement of the female sports category with a mixed-sex category has resulted in an increasing number of female athletes losing opportunities, including medals, when competing against males, the report said. So, David, again, would you like to now apologise for being not only wrong about this being an election issue, but being wrong about your correction when I asked you if you were sorry for being wrong?
Look at the underlying source, Piers. I have it printed out
it was
in
a
the other room.
It wasn't a
Look
footnote.
at the underlying source.
It's page
now,
5.
I do want to say one thing about this. I actually agree with a lot of what Brianna and what Dave Rubin said. I actually agree with it. I am not the savior here to do X, Y, or Z for trans people. What I'm saying is I don't actually think I even need to play that role. I don't think this is the issue that maybe you think I believe it to be. So I agree with a lot of what Dave Rubin and Brianna said there. I do think it's important to consider that when Dave Rubin talks about well-funded this or that, his Russian money source just dried up, and he's the last person who should be talking about funding sources. And to be honest, Dave, hold on a second. Wait, hold on. Now Ben's jumping. Everybody's jumping. Hold on a second. I can't even hear. Why would Ben jump in? I'm not even addressing Ben. I think Dave's a little upset. I think Dave's upset that Brian and I passed it.
You made a very direct charge against Dave Rubin. Let Dave Rubin reply to that.
Because no one believes your BS anymore. Jesus Christ, these people are so pathetic.
They've been indicted, Rubin. The Tenet Media people were indicted.
I got indicted.
He was not indicted. And it said in the report, if you weren't a smug prick, to quote him earlier,
I didn't say Rubin was indicted. I just said the money dried up.
That Dave Rubin and the others involved did not know about it. And this is why people think you're kind of a jackass.
Yes, this is why everyone hates progressives.
Putting words in my mouth.
This is the reason why you read the report. And by the way, Pakman, if this happened to you, and in the report it said you were unaware, if it said that you were unaware, I would defend you, because I don't think you indict people for things.
I'm defending Dave.
Says in the indictment, in the indictment,
I'm defending
they had no knowledge of the money where it was coming from. So don't be a jackass.
I'm defending Dave on that note, but the money dried up.
Pakman,
you're being a tool, man.
You are no real Pakman, which I'm quite good at. There's a reason, Piers. There's a reason that everyone hates progressives, and the reason that.
All right, this part is just classic bad faith. Anytime someone starts with "everyone hates progressives," you know what's coming. Zero substance, all deflection. Rubin's argument boils down to smugness, which is ironic considering he spends more time dunking on YouTube numbers than discussing policy. And let's not forget, this entire rant started because Pakman pointed out Rubin's questionable funding sources. When the facts don't work, they pivot to ad hominem attacks. It's lazy, it's transparent, and honestly, it's not working anymore.
Everyone hates progressives. It's not just that they're wrong about all of the issues and they will lie and their only real goal is power. It's because they're also smug elitists. And Pakman, I did see online the other day you were crying because your audience is purging you and you're running out of subscribers and you're in a doom loop. And the reason is no one gives Piers, pardon me, a shit about this woke bullshit anymore. We've had it, and now you guys can sit back and be quiet. You want to talk about people being paid for their ideas?
Just let me address this.
It's you people who have had the entire cultural machine for 20 years. You've had all of entertainment. You have had all of Hollywood. You have had all of music. You've had all your P. Diddy parties and Epstein and everything else. And now enough of us have had it. So crawl back into your little irrelevant cave. It's time, bro.
Can I address any of that, Piers? Is that allowed?
Sure.
Okay. It is absolutely true that in the 48 hours after the election, a lot of very upset leftists started pulling back from political content. I was hit by it.
No, not from political content, from your political content.
I have to be able to talk about it,
them about everything.
I have to be able to talk. I have to be able to get a word in. Unless you just want Dave Rubin to talk. Let me know, Piers.
I love hearing Dave Rubin talk.
I would prefer that.
Thank you, Piers.
No, if there's no rebuttal allowed, then I won't rebut.
You've probably done most of the talking so far, so why don't you do a bit more talking?
I'll say this and then I'll be quiet the rest of the show.
Because Brian hasn't said anything for ages. I want to bring him in.
I want Brian to win. That completely reversed. I do think that it must be that Dave is upset that Brian and I have surpassed him in viewership and subscribers. Because if you just look at the numbers, it lasted 48 hours. They all came back.
I don't even know who this other guy is.
Well, look, if it's going to come to that, I'm the biggest rocket in the room, right? I mean, it's like as Trump said to Kim Jong-un, you got your little rocket, I got my big rocket. So let's not get into the size of each other's YouTube rocket.
But that's the smug nonsense. Nobody cares about that.
It's the facts, Dave.
I honestly have no idea what your...
Let me bring in Brian.
Let me bring in Brian. Your views are, but I couldn't care less. I know your ideas are terrible. I don't care what your views are.
I want to play a clip of Donald Trump at the White House today. He's just met Joe Biden, and this is what happened.
Politics is tough, and it's... many cases, not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate it very much. A transition that's so smooth, it'll be as smooth as it can get, and I very much appreciate that, Joe.
You're welcome.
Now, Dave, I've got to say, kudos to Joe Biden for doing that. Would it not have been better for America if Donald Trump had done that himself 4 years ago? Serious question.
Yeah, I think you can make that argument, but I think we're long past that argument. I would rather focus on what Joe Biden, I think, did right there, and what we now have in a very interesting, 2+ months of the remainder of the Biden administration, where basically Biden, or whatever's left of Biden, or whoever's driving Biden, no longer has to placate to the completely lunatic progressive fringe anymore. And Biden actually could take advantage of some of the reordering that we feel throughout the world right now, not just in America, but quite literally across the globe. And he can actually pave the way for a really nice transition into a Trump presidency that I believe is going to reignite the American dream and bring back an 80s style revolution in America. I think we're going to have a burst throughout the economy. I think it's going to be cultural. I think we're going to get new music and new art and new creativity and new businesses on the forefront of AI and all of these things. And Biden he has 2 months now where he could be like, you know what, we're going to get our 5 or 6 American hostages who are somewhere under Gaza back. We can do that. Like there's a real win for Biden to end up with here, rather than, oh, you ended up with dementia and then ushered in quite literally the worst candidate in American history and placated to the radical left for 4 years when you were sold to us as old, moderate Joe. So Biden, and again, we don't know if Biden's running the show or it's Jill or whoever, but I think there's a real opportunity for him right now to do the right thing and usher in a really strong 4 years for Donald Trump.
Okay, and David Pakman, the appointments that Trump has put forward so far, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy will run a new Department of Government Efficiency. I mean, having, the most successful, richest and possibly smartest guy on the planet getting stuck into government bureaucracy, I would have thought that's very popular, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so funny. A Department for Government Efficiency, new department when Trump wants to eliminate departments, and instead of being run by one person, it's being run by two.
But they are going to eliminate, according to Musk, they are going to eliminate dozens of departments, though. So by the end of the process,
he said he's going to get rid of 300 departments.
They're going to get rid of a lot of departments, David Pakman. So, I mean, that seems to me to be a good thing, doesn't it? Or do you think that they should be...
Yeah, listen, in his first term, it was not exactly promises made, promises kept. I'm going to reserve judgment to see what happens. And the reason why, and Dave, honestly, I know we're not getting along here. I do like you. I wish we were still friends. I'd love to get our kids together to play soon. Dave Rubin making predictions... is crazy because his predictions always go wrong. Red wave for Republicans in 2018 didn't happen. 30% black vote for Trump in 2020 didn't happen. Republicans get 54 Senate seats in 2022. I've got a list of 30 Rubin predictions. They're always wrong. So I'm going to wait and see.
I can see why you're looking for new friends, Pakman. I think Piers can attest to this. Being in the business we're in, you're going to get election predictions wrong. I have no problem admitting that. I get election predictions wrong all the time. But when it comes to getting the ideas right, I think I've had a pretty damn good track record on that. And again, you're just illustrating why nobody likes progressives. Your smug, holier-than-thou attitude.
This one's wild. Rubin's holier-than-thou jab is straight projection. Progressives aren't perfect. No one is. But let's not pretend that smugness is exclusive to the left. This panel is dripping with condescension and bad faith, yet they accuse Pakman of elitism for citing sources. The reality is, people are tired of pundits playing victim while refusing accountability. It's not progressive smugness people hate. It's the lack of authenticity across the board. Let's be real here.
Just disgusting to most people. You think you're the savior for people that want nothing to do with you. And frankly, for all the David Pakman subscribers that want to watch a show that actually is informative and funny and interesting and, dare I say, irreverent, I would tune into the Rubin Report.
By the way, when it comes to Trump and the LGBTQ community, can we just remind ourselves, in fact, why don't we, given it's been quite a contentious panel, Trump has been ending his rallies with the famous YMCA dance, right? Which is a gay anthem performed by a bunch of gay guys, right? And is now taken fire and has now become a trend around the world. Why don't we all come together as one big cis LGBT, whatever you want to call it, community, and have a little dance? Here we go.
Here's what this debate shows. Culture wars are a distraction, and the people yelling the loudest often have the least to offer. David Pakman exposed how these narratives are built on exaggeration and fear, not facts. If you're tired of this same old theater and want real solutions, smash that subscribe button. No spin, no BS, just honest, data-driven analysis. Stay curious, stay critical. Peace out.